Good morning, and welcome to the 2022 Associated Industries of Massachusetts State of Massachusetts Business Address. I'm Corey Thomas, Chairman and CEO of Rapid7. We're proud to be a Massachusetts-grown company of more than 2,500 people working to protect the information technology infrastructure upon which we all depend. Rapid7 helps protectors navigate the complexity of cybersecurity so they can build future-ready security programs. Our best-in-class solutions and strategic expertise allows companies to stay ahead of attackers and out of the news. Rapid7 was planning to host the State of Massachusetts Business Address at our headquarters in Boston today. It's a space that proudly reflects our company's core values of collaboration, excellence, determination, and mutual respect. Unfortunately, due to the spike in COVID cases, we're remote today. But that ability to adapt our plans and still stay connected feels emblematic of our business community and the ways that we'll continue to thrive in 2022. We live at a unique moment in history with unprecedented challenges for the Massachusetts economy. At the same time, it's also a moment of singular promise as companies like Rapid7 prove that businesses can be a force of positive change in creating a better and more prosperous world. Please welcome John Regan, President and CEO of Associated Industries of Massachusetts, for the 2022 State of Massachusetts Business Address.
Thank you, Corey, and congratulations on the success of Rapid7. You and your company embody the best of the Massachusetts economy, the kind of inclusive and creative community that will allow our Commonwealth to remain a global center of commerce in 2022. Rapid7 represents an almost mystical meeting of the past and the future of Massachusetts. The company's new headquarters stands on the site of the old Boston Garden, the musty old barn where the Celtics and the Bruins built an unequaled legacy of achievement, a legacy that has now given way to technology-driven companies imagining the future. It's as if the echoes of Havlicek stole the ball and Bobby Orr flying through the air have made way for cloud security and threat intelligence. But what is the future of the Massachusetts economy at a time of both extraordinary hope and unprecedented uncertainty for both business and society at large? Chastened by another frightening season of COVID-19, an ongoing racial awakening, and widespread cynicism about our institutions and leaders, how will Massachusetts businesses fulfill their obligation to be a force for positive change and bring value to society? The dawn of 2022 brings no shortage of challenges. We face an ever-mutating public health crisis, a generational shortage of qualified workers, supply chain disruptions, the highest inflation rate in decades, and shifting expectations about the nature of work itself. All this while the pandemic has increased America's political tribalism and fractured social structures that once held us together. Start with the fact that incumbent Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker has declined to seek a third term, raising the question of whether the next governor will steer the economy down the same moderate road that Governor Baker has traveled for the past 7 years. Meanwhile, the national political debate continues to be riven by increasing polarization between partisans on the left and on the right, who appear willing to play chicken with the nation's economic future. Despite these challenges, however, many Massachusetts companies and their employees are finding ways to thrive. Biotech leaders Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson, all cornerstones of the Massachusetts economy, created the most breathtaking scientific achievement of our generation in 2020 by bringing COVID vaccines to the market in record time. Initial public offerings among Massachusetts companies rose 30% during 2021, affirming again the Commonwealth's position as a center of technology and business creation. Established businesses grew as well. Companies like online home furnishing company Wayfair benefited from the surging demand during the pandemic to serve consumers looking for everything from couches to lighting fixtures during the lockdowns. Outside of Boston, companies like Barrett Distribution Centers of Franklin, which delivers many of the products we purchase online, were among the fastest growing private companies in the Commonwealth. And new businesses like White Lion Brewing Company in Springfield defied the pandemic and grew by setting down strong roots in the community. Many members of the AIM Board of Directors tell me their companies posted record results in both 2020 and 2021. We as Massachusetts employers have created over 519,000 jobs since the employment trough in April of 2020, boosting the labor force participation rate in Massachusetts from 60% to 66%. These contradictory signals veil the road to recovery, challenging our ability to make the right decisions. The alchemy of economic success has become uncertain in a world in which work has become increasingly disaggregated from place, and large segments of the population have been left behind by the fastest growing sectors of our economy. The solution, I suggest, may be summarized in 3 words: tenacity, diversity, and technology. Let's begin with tenacity, which describes the determined efforts of the 3,400 members of Associated Industries of Massachusetts to maintain a favorable business climate amid a vexing political and economic environment. It's scores of manufacturers like Hollingsworth and Vose of East Walpole, Flexcon of Spencer, 99 Degrees Custom of Lawrence, and Universal Plastics of Holyoke, using their expertise and their research capabilities to make masks, gowns, and other personal protective equipment for hospital workers and caregivers. It's people like Tom Wesley at Waters Corporation, leading a group of AIM members donating their time to help employers understand pandemic-related issues ranging from the definition of an essential business to vaccine mandates and return to the workplace issues. It's hundreds of AIM members meeting with Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo last year to discuss federal stimulus programs and what they may mean for Massachusetts. The second elements of recovery are diversity and inclusion. Both are imperatives in an economy marked by record numbers of people leaving their jobs and more than 10 million job openings remaining throughout the United States. COVID-19 forever changed the underpinnings of the state and national economies in a manner that will require us to ensure that everyone, all races, genders, ethnicities, and backgrounds, participates in the post-COVID recovery and shares in the prosperity we hope it will bring. But we have work to do. Consider the fact that the unemployment rate for Hispanics in Massachusetts remains almost twice that of white people. The jobless rate for Blacks is estimated at 9% in Massachusetts, 70% more than for whites. Consider that in 1 year, COVID-19 wiped out a decade of labor force participation gains by women as childcare and other caregiving options evaporated and the marketplace ravaged female-heavy service industries. A staggering 80% of people who left the workforce during the height of the pandemic were women. We cannot afford to ignore broad swaths of human capital that have been historically left out and left behind by the Commonwealth's unprecedented economic progress. Technology and its cousin innovation are the blood that flows through the veins of every segment of the Massachusetts economy, from manufacturing and construction to software, healthcare, and higher education. COVID underscored the unique role played by technology as many of us came to rely on collaboration software to do business while our kids attended school remotely, patients consulted with physicians via telehealth, and smart wristbands expedited contact tracing. In some cases, the technological changes inspired by COVID-19 accelerated existing trends. For example, industrial automation and contactless payments. In other cases, like virtual reality, 3D printing, or telehealth, the crisis may have changed the course of the industry, enabling companies to demonstrate value that until now, consumers have been unable or unwilling to see. Tenacity, diversity, and technology are inseparable elements of the same vigorous and sustainable economic recovery for the citizens of Massachusetts. We are an exceptional state and an innovative state that is the center of everything from biopharmaceuticals to advanced manufacturing. But we are also a state with an aging population that declined by 45,000 people between April of 2020 and July of 2021. We are a high-cost state that is vulnerable to an exodus of people working remotely in lower-cost areas of the country. And we are a state that continues to struggle to align education and training programs with the rapidly changing needs of employers. Associated Industries of Massachusetts, as the statewide business association in the Commonwealth, is committed to working with employers, elected officials, and the public to ensure that Massachusetts remains a beacon of economic opportunity for everyone. After all, AIM exists to help businesses unlock their full potential. We fiercely advocate for positive public policy change that creates the chance for every citizen to realize the American dream. We empower businesses with the information, tools, and resources needed to successfully navigate a fast-paced, complex business world. We foster connections, networks, and the flow of ideas between people and businesses. More than that, we provide creative and practical strategies to move Massachusetts down the road to economic recovery. Last year, for example, AIM responded to the troubling exodus of women from the workforce by calling upon employers to make substantive adjustments to their policies to help women and caregivers balance work and personal responsibilities. Scores of companies stepped forward and took steps such as giving pay increases and advancement to women and to caregivers on schedule, rather than penalizing those who had been on leave or working limited hours. These steps were not only the right thing to do, they were the smart thing to do at a time when millions of skilled and valuable workers across the country left their jobs as part of the Great Resignation. Another smart thing to do is to preserve the ability of small business owners and retirees across Massachusetts to realize the economic dreams they have worked so hard to achieve. That's why AIM will join a coalition of those opposing a proposed income surtax amendment that would potentially harm people selling their homes and business owners selling their enterprises. We will work during 2022 to defend the Commonwealth's current tax system against those who would penalize success and enrich government bureaucracies. That means persuading our fellow residents to say no to a graduated income tax that would deplete the nest eggs of thousands of retirees and discourage business formation at the very time we most need it. Also in 2022, AIM will announce a bold initiative to ensure that the Massachusetts economy reflects all the diversity and creativity that makes the Commonwealth such a great place to live. The initiative will connect businesses owned or led by Black and Brown entrepreneurs with opportunities at AIM member companies looking to diversify their supply chain spending and to support minority business development. We look forward to sharing the details of this program in the coming weeks. And that brings us back to Rapid 7. Successful companies like this one instinctively understand that the future belongs to those who meld advanced technology, disciplined management, and a commitment to sharing the opportunity their work provides. Rapid 7 set a goal 3 years ago that 50% of its employees in the United States would be women or people of color. The company views its commitment to diversity as a constituent element of its ability to develop some of the most sophisticated cybersecurity software on the planet. Here's how the company puts it, and I quote, "Diversity drives innovation and a better understanding of our broad customer base. Cybersecurity, particularly in the countries where we have most of our employees, is a largely white and male industry. We knew to achieve our objective, we would have to apply diligence both in increasing the diversity of our growing employee base, while simultaneously ensuring we were creating an environment of true equity and inclusion, unquote. Meanwhile, Rapid7 has not forgotten tenacity. The company works on a range of public policy issues related to cybersecurity, including computer access laws, international trade, and the digital economy. This comprehensive approach to economic growth is essential because our recovery from the COVID-19 recession has at times separated the haves from the have-nots. Most college-educated people and professionals who can work remotely, along with sectors like manufacturing, home improvement, grocery stores, online retailers, and others, are doing well. Unfortunately, that's not the whole story. A considerable portion of the economy and population is moving in the opposite direction. This group includes industries that depend on people crowding together, such as restaurants, hotels, recreation, household care services, transportation, tourist attractions, many small retailers, and the people who work in these sectors. The ultimate success of the Massachusetts economic recovery depends upon the ability and the willingness of business leaders and elected officials to address that gulf between haves and have-nots. It depends upon our commitment to giving people the training, the experience, and the incentive to participate in this promise of a new economy and a better life for all. That's really what the American dream is all about. And we can and will make it happen here in Massachusetts. Thank you.
Good morning and Happy New Year. My name is Dan Landers. I'm the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of A Mutual Insurance Company in Burlington. A Mutual is proud to be a founding sponsor of this 2022 Economic Forum, along with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Massachusetts. A Mutual supports events like this because we share AIM's mission to create economic opportunity for the citizens of Massachusetts. That means mobilizing employers on the issues that define our economic future, from addressing the shortage of workers with skills needed for the 21st century to maintaining an efficient and world-class regulatory system in Massachusetts. I want to take a moment to acknowledge our many fellow sponsors, all of whom have stepped forward to make this morning's program possible. These visionary organizations are listed on the Sponsors tab of the meeting website. Please thank them for their leadership of the Massachusetts business community. Now that John Regan has provided his vision for the future of the Massachusetts economy, it's time to hear what some distinguished business and academic leaders have to say. I am pleased to introduce the moderator of this morning's discussion, Laura Teicher, Executive Director of Forge. Forge is an organization that helps some of our brightest innovators take their ideas for physical products from prototype to commercialization. Under Laura's leadership, Forge has multiplied its impact fivefold over the past 3 years. In 2021 alone, helping more than 250 innovative companies with manufacturing readiness and localizing supply chains. This work spans sectors including robotics, medical devices, advanced materials, clean tech, and more. Laura has a strong track record leading impact in innovative focused organizations. Most recently, prior to joining Forge, she served as executive director of the Boston chapter of the largest global not-for-profit network dedicated to fostering entrepreneurship, TIE. Please welcome Laura Teicher, who will introduce our distinguished panel. Laura?
Thank you, Dan, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to our conversation about what's in store for Massachusetts, the US, and global economies in 2022. I'm looking forward to an engaging, informative conversation with our panelists this morning, who include Kumble Subaswamy, or Swami, Ezekiel Cheque Montemayor, or Cheque, and Sarah Locke Henderson. Some background on our distinguished panelists. Kumble Subaswamy has served as Chancellor of the University of Massachusetts Amherst since 2012. A physicist by training and an elected fellow of the American Physical Society, his tenure has been marked by rapid expansion of the role the university plays in driving the discovery and educating the talent needed to fuel the Massachusetts innovation economy. Under his leadership, UMass Amherst has moved up significantly in the US News and World Report national rankings, making the campus one of the fastest rising top-tier public research universities in the country. Sarah Locke Henderson is Senior Public Engagement East Coast Lead for the Public Policy team at DoorDash, the largest food delivery company in the United States. In her role, Sarah oversees a team of political strategists to manage the company's regulatory landscape and develop social impact programs for the region. Prior to her role at DoorDash, Sarah served as senior manager for Lyft's community and public engagement efforts across the West Coast. Ezekiel Cheque Montemayor has been Chief Executive Officer since 2008 of Harbar LLC of Canton, one of the foremost tortilla manufacturing companies in the nation. Founded in 1986, the company employs almost 200 people making healthy tortilla products, from traditional corn and wheat tortillas to specialty gluten-free tortillas. A native of Mexico, Cheque holds an MBA from Harvard Business School and a bachelor's degree in economics from the Tecnológico de Monterrey. Welcome to all of you. Before we begin, let me stress that this is a conversation rather than a lecture. We welcome and encourage your questions, your comments, and your challenges throughout this discussion. Let's get into it. For my first question, Swami, John Regan referenced in his speech the fact that employers face a generational shortage of workers across almost every sector of the economy. At Forge, we've seen this play out externally at the innovative companies and manufacturers that we work with, and recently even internally, as the timeline required to find and hire the right talent has stretched. How does UMass Amherst view its long-term role in this unusual labor market, and how will the university prepare the talented people needed to fuel economic growth?
Thank you, Laura, for that question. I couldn't agree more with John Regan's observation that the solutions to the challenges we currently face are summarized in three words: tenacity, diversity, and technology. In recent years, UMass Amherst has really more or less used this same framework to drive our success. First, as the Commonwealth's original land-grant university, we were created to provide higher education and advanced know-how to the working class of Massachusetts, whose work ethic is best described as tenacious. Our graduates have a reputation among employers as being ready to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty. We actively cultivate that culture. Second, we understand that embracing different experiences and perspectives always improves excellence, and that the only way we can meet today's workforce needs is by actively reaching students of all backgrounds. And therefore, we strategically foster a community defined by diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as an example, our students of color percentage has increased from about 20% to 38% over the last 10 years. And thirdly, given our land-grant heritage, Our professors directly address problems facing Massachusetts, both in terms of the workforce and in terms of innovation and discovery. In recent years, we've made heavy investments in STEM fields, in data science, life sciences, and sustainability as examples. In the parlance of this audience, our scale of production is substantial and contributes significantly to Massachusetts' economy. Allow me to share just a few statistics. We enroll more in-state first-year students than the top 8 private universities in Massachusetts combined. We award more undergraduate STEM degrees than any other college or university in the Commonwealth, public or private. The academic profile of our students has risen substantially in years, and approximately 76% of these highly talented students, undergraduates, come from Massachusetts. And when they graduate, 60% of these high-achieving alums actually remain in the state after graduation, contributing to the economic and social well-being of the Commonwealth. Let me give you one short example, concrete example of where we have made investments to help the Massachusetts economy. For example, it's certainly know that as we enter the 4th industrial revolution, there is a significant shortage of computer science, data science, cybersecurity graduates in the Commonwealth. So to address this squarely, we doubled our enrollment in computer science over the last 5 years, created a College of Computer and Information Sciences rather than just a small department, and we stand ready to double the enrollment again. In August 2017, we recruited Dr. Laura Haas, a very distinguished IBM researcher, to serve as the founding dean of this newly formed college. In fact, as one of the few female deans of a College of Computer Science in the country, she is very focused on building inclusive excellence in that college. And AIM member MassMutual made a $15 million philanthropic contribution through its foundation to build up our faculty. And I would like to really take a moment to thank Roger Crandall and MassMutual for their support. Also, I want to acknowledge that Governor Baker for recognizing the contribution that this college is making in this critical field and committing $75 million in capital funding to accommodate the expansion of this college. And also, at the same time, the chair of our UMass Board of Trustees, Rob Manning, and his wife Donna made an $18 million gift to endow the newly named Robert and Donna Manning College of Information and Computer Sciences. So in conclusion, UMass is laser focused on meeting the workforce and innovation needs of Massachusetts. While anchored in Western Mass, where we are the second largest employer, we serve students and employers throughout the Commonwealth.
Thank you, Swami. Sarah, Massachusetts voters may decide later this year on a new category of employment for delivery drivers. Why is that potential ballot question important?
Hey, Laura, thanks for the question. So yeah, that's right. There is a ballot initiative, which is on the path to being certified and placed on the November 2022 statewide ballot, so this November. The ballot would establish historic new protections and benefits for app-based drivers in the state of Massachusetts. So just by way of a bit of background, the goal of the initiative is really to address the work status of app-based drivers, rideshare and delivery workers across the state who currently enjoy the flexibility of being independent contractors. So over 80% of drivers in app-based platforms in Massachusetts are actually working less than 20 hours a week on average. This work is very important part-time work for the vast majority of people on our platforms. And it's really important to mention that Massachusetts app-based drivers support this initiative just from our initial polling by a 7-to-1 margin. Unfortunately, there is currently a legal debate happening at the state level that could threaten the ability of drivers on these platforms to continue working flexibly and independently. And in turn, this could really threaten the way these platforms are able to continue providing earning opportunities to drivers, but also just affordable services to customers. DoorDash and other gig economy companies in our coalition agree that the ideal resolution is to find a legislative compromise. So really working with the legislature to protect the flexibility and freedom that we know drivers on our platform need, but while also providing them with new protections and benefits that they haven't previously had access to. So this could be things like access to healthcare stipends and enhanced safety protections. We've really appreciated the conversations that we've been having thus far with House and Senate leadership on this issue. And we're really looking forward to continuing those conversations as the legislative session continues. All of that being said, as you mentioned, we did also work with a coalition of drivers, other gig economy companies and community groups to file a ballot initiative, the one that you're referring to, that may appear on the 2022 ballot this November. So, while we're committed to working toward a legislative solution, we did file this initiative before the filing deadline, which is back in August of last year, to provide an alternative solution. The ballot initiative, just to outline, would do a few things. First, it would protect the ability of app-based drivers to maintain their flexibility as independent contractors. So that's first and foremost. But it would also guarantee them access to historic new benefits and protections like guaranteed earnings, access to healthcare stipends, paid sick time, paid family and medical leave, enhanced safety protections for both drivers and passengers. So those are just a few things that are listed in the initiative. We know that passing new laws will guarantee drivers access to flexible work, but also these new and really first of their kind protections. And this is really critical to allow drivers to continue doing what they really want to be doing. It not only will ensure that delivery and rideshare apps can continue to provide crucial services to Massachusetts residents, it's, most importantly, what drivers have told us time and time again that they really want.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to continue on this theme of the labor market because it is impacting all of us. Cheke, how are you addressing the challenge we spoke of earlier of hiring and retaining workers in this tight labor market?
Yes, thank you, Laura. First of all, I'm grateful to aim for the opportunity to participate in this. Yes, in regards to the topic of attracting talent, the manufacturing sector, I dare to say, has never had it more difficult than what we're going through over the last 18 months or so. In my short tenure, I've never seen anything like this. For us, we basically have had to double up or triple up the resources that we use to recruit. Pretty much an all hands on deck approach. It originally would be just kind of putting job posts and following up on referrals, and it'd be hard but doable. Nowadays, we just need to leverage every resource that we can, from targeted Facebook campaigns, to bonus for employee referrals, bonus for coming on board for just for the first few months, and really almost like really grassroots approach of trying to find referrals by just calling people and just kind of almost telemarketing approach, trying to find, do you know anybody that wants to work, and it has worked to a certain extent, but the amount of resources has been extraordinary. Now, that is a retaining, the recruiting part. In terms of the retaining part, I would say it's, back to basics. Of course, we want to, as an essential business, we never stop working and we never stop delivering products to our customers. So we have that huge sense of responsibility. But at the same time, we know we need to work on some of the essentials of, it has to be a COVID-safe environment, building up on our operational principles of safety first, and keep working on some of those lifelong principles of instilling pride and, working on the recognition and fostering teamwork, in the best way we can. So we try to keep traditions, even COVID, restricts them in some shape or form. We try to still have, holiday events, with social distance. So we of course, being in the food business, we love celebrating with food, but we cannot have internal gatherings. So we do, a food truck maybe outside. And at the end of the day, it's just about trying to keep as much as we can of what has worked in the past, maneuvering through the dynamics of the pandemic.
Thank you, Cheke. And I'm actually going to address my next question to you as well. We've seen the economy being affected by global supply chain disruptions across many industries. And as a manufacturer, has Harbar encountered any of these disruptions, and how will you address them moving forward?
Yes. Well, yeah, Harvard has been affected to a significant degree. Being in the manufacturing sector and in the food manufacturing sector, I think we're just getting, as they say, double whammy. In a way, we feel squeezed, and I'm sure everybody can relate to this, between two very significant situations: what's happening with our customers and what's happening with our suppliers. Being in the food manufacturing segment, you can imagine, we sell to a lot of restaurants and schools and cafeterias, and those customers have, really gone through a roller coaster of situations, starting with a mandate to close down and then opening with different degrees of density guidelines. At the end of the day, this affects demand, and on the retail side, we have the opposite effect. So at the common denominator that we see is that they are all having challenges to attract and retain talent as well, and it just creates a ripple effect back to who's behind on the supply chain. So just imagine that you produce a whole truckload of fresh product, you get to a customer, and they don't have enough employees to receive the product, right? And what do you do with that truckload? So that's kind of the dynamics that we're going on the customer side, and on the supplier side. And you all heard of expressions like from farm to table. Well, the challenges are happening from the farm to the table, right? In every single step of the process, from commodities or agricultural commodities that are scarce, to just inbound freight or inbound containers coming from overseas. Everything is quite challenging. I would say that of course, the pandemic has had different moments of challenges. At the end of the day, what we do is try to intensify the collaboration with our partners on the customer side and on the supplier side. Daily communications, sharing information on cost, on assortment, on inventory levels, and just trying to, week by week, finding the way to solve this for everybody's sake. When we all were feeling a little bit of relief on this, towards the fall, when Omicron started, we knew we just had to bring back the practices of 6, 12, 18 months ago that had been working to us. What was really interesting, across our team was that it just became a second nature. It says, okay, here we go back again. So it's just kind of doubling down on those efforts of working with everybody on a daily basis. And in a way, we identify quite well with that, saying that, there's a new normal here. Hopefully, it does get a little bit better from the actual current moment. But I think, that at the end of the day, holding on to your team and holding on to the relationships that we have across the supply chain is the way to go.
Thank you, Chuck A. And on this topic of the ripple effects we're all experiencing, back to Swami, how has the pandemic changed the manner in which UMass Amherst and other universities operate? Which developments, such as remote learning, remain part of the higher education landscape? And how have these changes impacted the process of teaching?
To building up on what Cheke just said, the key word is really flexibility and adaptability. I think all industries have had to do this, and the higher education industry, if I can call it that, is no different. The ability to provide high quality education to more and more students and in flexible ways, really as a way of extending our mission, has been something that we've been working on for some time now, because as technology for online education has improved continuously, everyone has been looking, and also as the marketplace for students, because of demographic changes, has been declining, everyone has been looking at how to extend our on-campus education to really more and more students elsewhere in a flexible way. So this is something that we were actually working on well before the pandemic. For instance, several years ago, we began a strategic expansion of our nearly 50-year-old University Without Walls, something set up in the 70s, the program, by strengthening our online infrastructure and by bridging and integrating our primarily in-person residential program with our primarily, remote University Without Walls program. But when the global pandemic hit, that distinction sort of became irrelevant because our faculty, students, and staff had to innovate and adapt, and essentially overnight, over a 1-week period, had to move all classes and everything else to a remote mode. And so bringing the campus experience now closer to students where they are has become a significant goal for all of us in higher education. So we're building this now on this by moving the institution into as strong a position as possible, where we can be resilient to the challenges of the next decades. And sort of this model that in one form or another that most people are working, we're calling it flexible learning. And what that really means is that really allowing students to choose the mode, place, and pace of their academics with the same faculty that we have on campus. Namely, mode can be face-to-face or online. Place can be either on or off campus. And pace refers to actually doing it at your own pace, depending on your own circumstances, whether you're working, whether you have family obligations and things like that. So these are, there are many benefits. Obviously, flexible learning provides access to UMass Amherst education to students and to larger and more diverse set of students who cannot spend 4 years in immersion on the Amherst campus. Flexible learning benefits students who have work and family commitments, as I mentioned, and our alumni and people who are already in the workplace really need a lot more upskilling these days. And so we're able to meet their needs where they are, and without having to interrupt their work and family lives. If I may, extend, also thinking about the good and the bad about this is that there are lots of advantages, but clearly there's a lot we have to learn, and there are obviously additional work for our faculty and staff when they're trying to manage and support both on-campus students and off-campus students, and also online facilities and online technology is not equally accessible to all of our students and all of our faculty and staff. And so, this is not for everyone. There's a lot more evolution in this coming. And over the next decade, I think we'll see this type of a flexible learning environment, flexible workplace really become quite common.
Thank you. The emphasis on flexibility and adaptability really resonates. I am sure it resonates with our entire audience as we navigate this pandemic. Sarah, DoorDash grew more than 50% during 2021, and that was after more than tripling sales the year prior. Your company clearly has filled a huge consumer demand during an unprecedented period. As we look towards recovery, what do you see for your company and industry moving forward?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And, much like Chike and Swami were saying, I think flexibility and adaptability has been key for our industry too. Flexibility, of course, in the way that people are working, more flexible hours has been really helpful for people who are dealing with home care needs or anything the pandemic has brought. And of course, adaptability for consumers who are kind of changing their habits and, ordering more food than ever before because they've been homebound. So this past year has definitely been very exciting for us. But I think with unprecedented growth also comes unprecedented responsibility for our company and just the ability to leverage our product, which is, connecting people and customers to restaurants, and the resources that we have to support the communities that have helped us really grow. So, it's been part of DoorDash's mission since the beginning to really grow and empower local economies. But looking ahead to 2022, I'm very excited by the prospect of expanding some of our programs to support local businesses and customers, and of course, Dashers as well. And just as a little bit of a look back, the past few years, they've definitely been exciting. But as I mentioned, they've also been very challenging. I know that doesn't surprise anybody. But particularly for many of the local restaurants, who are emerging from the difficulties of COVID, 2021 was in many ways just as difficult, if not, more because of all these new unprecedented challenges emerging from the pandemic. But, at the start of the pandemic, DoorDash announced our Main Street Strong pledge, where we committed $120 million to help local restaurants across the country with the resources they needed to reach new customers and also just to keep their doors open during the pandemic. A big part of this commitment also involved providing $500,000 in grants for hundreds of local Massachusetts restaurants during the really tough winter months of early 2021. And I'm really excited to share that in 2022, we'll be doubling down on this pledge and bringing our Main Street Strong Accelerator program for minority and women-owned small businesses to Boston. So the Accelerator program is really an incubator for small businesses across the city. And we'll be working with 20 local Boston restaurants that are owned by women and people of color to offer them grants and an incubator course that will really help provide them with the technical skills, resources, and trainings to just grow their businesses and reach new customers. This year, we'll also be expanding our programs to increase food access and equity to alleviate food insecurity to people across the state. Obviously, when we're talking about DoorDash's resources, we do provide delivery, and this is a great way for us to help sort of power delivery from food banks, nonprofits, to people who are in need. So we call this initiative Project Dash. And so far, in the lifetime of Project Dash, we've provided over 21 million meals and other supplies to communities in need. We have big partners across the country like United Way, Replate, Copia, World Central Kitchen. Here in Massachusetts specifically, we partnered with the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts to provide home delivery to their clients and to give clients access to the food they rely on. Through this partnership, we've delivered over 14,000 meals. But really, the most exciting thing, I think, is that we'll be continuing to expand these kinds of partnerships, Project Dash here in Massachusetts. And we're always seeking new government partners and new nonprofit partners. So look out for Project Dash in a community near you. We're really excited to expand.
Thank you, Sarah. It's great to hear about all these social impact efforts and the attention to the demographics you're serving, which is a great segue into my next question for Cheke, which is for your company in particular and or the broader food industry, which markets and demographics hold the most promise as you look forward to 2022?
Yes, thank you for that question. So we always believe that we work and are passionate about our business, and for every product we do, we're rooted in tradition, but always inspired by the possibilities of the trends and the needs of our customers. So we do design products, taking into account the different cultural dynamics of the food segment. We work on most food segments and address quite a wide variety of dietary needs or standards. We of course try and find and have products to address even like little subtle things like the Mediterranean food market or the Southeast Asian market. But at the end of the day, we really try to understand how from our manufacturing infrastructure here in Massachusetts, how we can maximize opportunities across the market, looking at local opportunities and national opportunities, even international ones. We work through our different brands. We have our Maria Ricardo brand, which is thinking about organic, non-GMO consumer, but we also have more mainstream brands, thinking about everyday products, or even more on the authentic or heritage-driven products. We think about the traditional concept of a tortilla, but also the specialty or the better for you aspect of it. Out of this apparently simple product of a tortilla, we end up baking more than 200, 300 varieties. And that's because we passionately believe that no tortilla lover should be ever left behind.
Thank you, Cheke. Wow, 300 varieties. Okay, we're reaching the end of our time together. These are meaty topics we could talk about all day, but I'm going to wrap up with a lightning round. So I will ask each of our panelists to briefly answer, what do you see as the most significant opportunity for your organization in this coming year? Or how will you define success in 2022? And Sarah, I'm going to ask you to answer first.
Yeah, I'll go back to my previous answer, which is really how well we're able to leverage the resources and sort of the superpowers that DoorDash has as a delivery company, especially as we're emerging from the pandemic and what that really means for consumers, but also people who, may lack access to food. I think that's a challenge that will never quite go away. So really success, I think, will look like, from my personal vantage point, I'm obviously biased because I'm on the policy social impact team, but really how we can create policies and social impact solutions to really help solve some of the needs, that we know the community is facing, like food access and insecurity, access to flexible work, and support for small businesses that really have been struggling the past couple of years and need support to emerge from the pandemic.
Thank you, Sarah. And Cheke, can you answer my question next, please?
Yeah, I'm excited about venturing more and more into the better for you segment of our category. Nutrition, low carb, keto, paleo, those kind of segments. Also about giving access to our products in different regions. So leveraging that distribution platforms that we have built and make our product travel farther away. In particular, I'm really looking forward to the final recuperation of the food service segment, the restaurant partners that we have and all the participants in that segment. I really wish for them to come back online at 100% capacity this year. And I'm hopeful also that the good advances that happened during this period on e-commerce channels for the food industry, that they can stay at a good level of activity, even though, some of the demand patterns are shifting. But I'm hopeful that they stick around because they did provide a lot of value to the consumers as well.
Thank you, Cheke. And finally, Swami, what are you looking forward to in the year ahead?
Well, first I have to admit that, the last 20 months have been very difficult, particularly for our dining and housing services. We lost about $200 million in revenue and had to lay off, extended furlough for about 1,000 employees. So first and foremost, financial recovery is foremost on our minds, as it is with, many of the larger universities that have housing and dining services. Maintaining our momentum. We had a lot of innovative educational and research undertakings that were moving forward. So maintaining that momentum is something that we want to get back to and are really excited about. And then, of course, as the land-grant university, helping the Commonwealth's economic recovery, whether it is in meeting the workforce needs or partnering with the Commonwealth and helping, for example, the fledgling cannabis industry through systematic research which doesn't exist, and those kinds of excitement, and of course the flexible learning that I talked about, really having it take shape and become a part and parcel of our regular operations is something that I look forward to this coming year.
Thank you, Swami, and thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. It's been informative. And now I'm going to send it over to Brooke Thompson from AIM.
Good morning. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it. I'm Brooke Thompson, Executive Vice President of Government Affairs at Associated Industries of Massachusetts. On behalf of the association, a sincere thank you to Laura for moderating our discussion, as well as we'd like to thank Chancellor Subaswamy, Sarah, and Cheke for all of your insights. You've given us plenty to think about as we begin what will certainly be an eventful 2022. I also want to thank everyone for attending here today. Please also look to join us for some other upcoming events, including our Commonwealth conversation with Attorney General Maura Healey coming up on March 1st. You certainly won't want to miss this live discussion with the Attorney General discussing all of the issues her office will be working on in 2022. And a reminder to our board members, for the Board of Director meeting, your 9 o'clock meeting will begin in just a few minutes. Please return to the agenda on your virtual platform and enter the board meeting platform. Thank you again and have a great day.